This is a bearing separator and puller kit, and I'm going to use it to remove this bearing from this arbor. This is the scoring blade arbor for my Minimax SC3 saw. And so it turns out that in my previous long video about the disassembly of that saw, I had a number of problems where I was using the wrong tool and I didn't know what the right tool was. I was using 2 screwdrivers to pry things off of an arbor because a puller wouldn't fit. And it turns out, I believe, that this is the tool that I needed. I saw some recent comments online from people talking about how one of the problems with YouTube is that people with no experience are making videos. And I just want to reassure my viewers, this is not my first time using a bearing separator and puller set. No, this is my second time. My first time was like an hour ago when I used it to pull this bearing off the main arbor for the same saw. So I've got experience. So the problem here is this bearing and this pulley, which is part of the arbor. There's hardly any space there, so we need something to separate those two things so that I can pull that bearing off. These jaws here are going to be inserted behind the bearing, between the bearing and the pulley, to wedge themselves in there and apply even pressure to pull the bearing off. It's kind of like I've just mounted the bearing and the pulley into the separator. Then I take these extension screws and I mount them onto these jaws. Then I mount this yoke onto the extension screws and insert this center lead screw through the center of the yoke, contacting the arbor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this screw, and it's going to gradually apply steady pressure to contract this assembly and pull the bearing off. And now I have twice as much experience using this tool.